Buckle up, everyone, and welcome to Carpool Rugby League, a show where two Rugby League tragics talk everything Rugby League on their way to or from work. I'm Graham.
I'm Shane. It's actually three Rugby League tragics today. We've got special guest Justin. Say hello.
Hello, everyone.
On their way to or from the game.
On my way to or from the game. It's a special edition of Carpool Rugby League. We are 3 games down. We're on our way to see Penrith versus South Sydney down at ANZ. And we thought, why not? But there's been so much in Rugby League so far in just 3 games. Why not do a special edition podcast and talk about what we've seen so far?
Yeah, we copped a bit of stick actually on the Facebook side
Yeah.
for having a bye last week.
Having a bye, far out.
And
Heaven forbid.
Yeah, especially considering in the past we've talked a lot about the bye and how it shouldn't be worth 2 points.
Shout out to Daniel Nielsen who wasn't giving us the 2 points.
No, we didn't want to give anyone else the 2 points. We took the week off and took the 2 points. So
we took the 2 points.
We thought we'd do a bit of a weekend special edition.
Still went to Golden Point.
Still went to Golden Point.
So we'll have a bit of a chat about a few things. It'd be remiss of us not to have a quick chat about some of the games that have happened so far this weekend.
Yep.
The first game that happened this weekend was on Thursday night, as always. We had the Cronulla Sharks taking on the Canberra Raiders down in Canberra. Canberra held on in this one 22-20 after a late scare. It got to 20-all after leading, I think it was 20-0 at half-time. I think the main thing we need to talk about this one is how
Paul Green's head looks like a beetroot at half-time. He was not happy. I've never seen a guy so unhappy.
Well, it's obviously motivated the team because it was a game of 2 halves, this one.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, you had Canberra come out of the blocks, and we said it in the podcast during the week. If Cronulla dropped the ball, they're their own worst enemy. They made too many mistakes in their own 20. They gifted Canberra the ball, and Canberra utilised it. You cannot blame Canberra for what they did. They utilised it. They got where Canberra really fell to pieces is once they let possession wane, once Cronulla got back in the game, they were able to pick holes in the defence. And at times, the Raiders' defensive line looked like Swiss cheese. It just looked like there was holes everywhere. Again, they went wide. They seemed to get a lot of success going wide, the Cronulla Sharks. It was such an entertaining game if you didn't go for Cronulla or Canberra. If you went for either of these sides, geez, you would be upset. But look, can I say Paul Green? He's the bloody.
Yeah, you're thinking.
We'll get to that though.
Oh yeah, I was thinking of the bloody. I jumped the gun.
You jumped the gun. You jumped the gun there.
ScoMo in the crowd.
Yes.
Do you reckon he pays for his ticket?
How about him? How about the guy in front of him? He had the fit of the giggles the whole night. He could not stop laughing.
Maybe ScoMo knew a few jokes and he was just laying zingers all night.
Laying zingers.
Look, the thing to keep in mind, I think, with this game is if you're a Raiders fan, are you concerned at the fact that they can squander a lead like that, or are you just happy that your team's in the top 4?
If you're an NRL fan, are you worried about the fact that they're third?
Well, I don't think they'll be third at the end of the round. I think the Roosters will win, which will push them to 4th. You got the Knights breathing down their neck. If the Knights weren't playing the Storm this weekend, you'd almost bet that they might even get pushed down to 5th. I feel like after Origin, after all the buys, when we see the table sort itself out, I think the Raiders are about a 5th or 6th team. I see them around that same area as the Sharks, the top half or the bottom half.
I think they're a bit better than the Sharks. Bateman again played a hell of a game. Whiten was very good. I think post-Origin, Whiten has sort of said, hey, I'm back again. And
he'll be there again for game 2, I think.
Jared Croker, again, putting his hand up for the club. I think he got the try-scoring record during that game as well. So he's... You know, Canberra are ticking along. They're going to be that club that they're going to win a couple, lose a couple, win a couple, lose a couple. Come finals time, it's going to be up to them. If they're top 4, they can give it a shake because they've got the attack to score points. The problem is their defence at times, like I said earlier, it looks like Swiss cheese.
Yeah. Big blow for them with Kotrick going off with an ankle injury. Looks like a high ankle sprain. He's also going to miss Origin. So you'd say that Tom Trbojevic will come in for him there.
Yep.
The other talking point I think out of this one, Fafita's actually facing a 3-week ban.
Ugly
after
tackle.
that. It didn't look good. I think they've officially
Dudley.
said, dangerous contact. It was basically a crusher tackle, but where you normally see the defender just lean forward into the back of the head of the player, he's basically just dropped his whole body weight on the back of his neck. It looked really nasty, and I don't see him getting off that one.
This is one of those situations where a player is doing anything to put energy into his side. His side was flat. They were really clutching at straws in some of their fifth tackle options. Here was a guy who said, you know what, we need to get the ball at the moment, and through trying to be too exuberant, gave away a very costly penalty. If he doesn't play for them, it'll be a couple of weeks. The bigger thing is, what does this do for his international aspirations?
Yeah.
So with the international round coming up, so it's look, it's a big thing at the moment for him. 3 weeks, he was eating meters at one stage for the Sharks.
Yeah.
I think for feetless Sharks side will struggle immensely to make meters.
Yeah, no, he'd be a big blow over the next few weeks, so it'll be interesting to see how they go with that, because they've had a bit of a run recently with injuries, and it seems as though they're just starting to get everything back together and something like this happens. What are your thoughts on the Sharks and Raiders, Jazz? What do you think about them this year? Where do they sit in your top 8?
You rate the Sharks?
Yeah, I do.
You rate the Sharks?
They're slowly getting a full team back together. So,
do you think Moylan's getting Moylan back, getting players like Fecky was looking good.
Wade Graham.
Wade Graham was looking very good.
Even Dugan got a try, didn't he?
Dugan, yeah. Getting these key players back.
When's Aaron Woods back?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something we'd have to look into.
Because he might just slot straight in if he's out.
Yeah,
that's true. So they'll be looking for some size up front.
And Raiders, I don't like to talk about because I traded Jared Croker out of my Supercoach team. I persisted with him. I get rid of him and he's come out killing it. So
did you end up going with Caesar this year?
No, I didn't.
You learned from that one, did you?
I gave him a fair shot, didn't I? 6 years.
6 years in the team. I think he scored about 6 points over that time as well. All right, so I can tell Shane he's already starting to talk about this game even when I hadn't introduced it. We'll go on to the Tigers and Cowboys game.
Now I can talk about his head looking like a beetroot.
Yeah, that's right. For now, we'll just skip over the Warriors and Titans game. We'll come back to that one because I think the main talking points we need to cover, there's plenty of them in the Tigers and Cowboys game.
Yeah.
That happened last night. 27-26, the Tigers got up with the field goal right at the end of the first half of extra time.
Yes.
Few controversial moments in this one. The first one we'll talk about the penalty try.
It's a try every day of the week. When you cause a penalty in the act of scoring that stops a player from scoring, it's a try. Now I will say this. Cheekham had flippers last night. So when Paul Green said we don't know if he would have scored, he's 100% correct because he did knock on over the line already once before. The biggest thing is when you hit a guy in the head and it's going to be a penalty anyway, and he's in the act of scoring, anything that happens after that it's negated by whatever happens. Now, one of the key things I remember Bill Harrigan saying is that when someone causes a penalty in the act of scoring, the best thing a referee could do is pretend they're not there. Yeah. And that tells you whether it's going to be a try or not.
Yeah. And he was denied the opportunity.
If he wasn't there, it's a try. And that's where, is it soft, is it not soft? I don't know. It's a penalty. On halfway, it would have been a high shot. So that's the thing. In the act of scoring, it's a penalty try.
The interesting thing that you mentioned there, Bill Harrigan, and his views on it, because he actually gave a very similar penalty try in the 99 grand final, it would have been. Remember at the end to...
Oh, when Jamie Ainscough took out, what's his name? Yeah, that was freaking insane.
So that was the same thing.
Yeah, that was insane.
The ball wasn't grounded there, whilst it was in the in goal.
What I think's really confusing for punters and obviously coaches and players is when they go upstairs and say no try. Now, you've got to remember what the referee's looking at all these angles. I really think what they've got to start telling referees is this. If you think it's a penalty try, go up a try. Because we haven't seen that. We see it overturned for a penalty try more often than not. I think where a lot of people get frustrated is when it comes to these type of penalty try situations, the referee goes, I've got no try because he's clearly knocked on, you sort it out.
Yeah, I don't know if that's something that's they've been asked to do, because in most cases you see that they say it's no try, it doesn't look like a try, but just make sure that, you know, the contact was legal, so to speak. I mean, I got no problem with it being a try. The one I do have a problem with was the other try that the Tigers scored, which didn't actually go to the bunker, and you can see there was a tiny little knock on there. Did you agree with that one in regards to the knock on?
Well, you know, when you slow something, okay, it wasn't a knock on. Yeah, when you slow something down to its nth degree, it was a knock on.
Should the ref have gone to the bunker? Should they be using the bunker if it's there? Some people complain they use the bunker too much, and then they have a whinge and say, oh, they didn't go to the bunker and they got one wrong.
I can see in that instance where the referees wouldn't, because it live, it looked fine. It was one of those iffy ones where live you couldn't tell, but then as it got slowed down to its nth degree, it became a bit of an issue. I think that's the nature of the beast. You know, I hate it when referees go upstairs for dead set certainty tries. Then again, they go upstairs for things we go, surely that's a try, and they've seen something. They can only call it as they see it. They've been told that if in their mind they have no question of doubt, it's a try. We know on the field then that the referees had no question of doubt. So they just got to call it as they see it. And
it's a tough one.
That's the thing about humans. We get it wrong.
Yeah, I'm sort of in that, as you said, I'm in that group of people where the bunkers there use it. I don't know if it's one of those situations where, you know, do they move to a system like they have in the NFL where while they're celebrating, while there's the hullabaloo after it, the bunker looks at it? Because it's not as though we get the team coming back, setting up, kicking the conversion within 20 seconds. That happens in a matter of minutes. Is it something the bunker could look at and say, hey, actually, you've missed something here, call it back? But then or will that start to cause a bit more of an issue?
Then you have to make every try reviewable, which means, okay, take the situation that was in the Warriors game where it looked like almost the Titans had scored a try where it got knocked forward. It just brushed, I think it was Anthony Don's fingers. Just say that was given a try. That would have got pulled back 3 minutes later.
Yeah, look, what I'm saying is,
and I think that's the thing.
I'm not saying take 5 minutes to look at it, but if they haven't done the conversion yet or something like that, when you're watching the game, they'll have replays set up while they're still patting each other on the backside and congratulating each other for the try.
I remember Graham Hughes saying once upon a time on his radio show, use it all the time or none of the time. So you sort of got these differing views. I really think once a decision's been made, it's been made. And you can't... Look, we had it years ago with the strip rule. Remember where they were reviewing strips and knock-ons were turning into penalties were turning into knock-ons?
Nah, it's got to be
I think it's just got to be so quick. This is where maybe we can start talking about a coach's challenge. Because you look at it in the NFL, things that get reviewed, the majority of things that get reviewed are from the coaches. Yes. Unless there's a touchdown.
But it's a touchdown. Look, in the actual game whilst they're playing, we're not seeing that many mistakes. There's not that many issues. I just try to put myself in the shoes of a Cowboys fan or Paul Green this morning and wake up and say, well, hang on, in a competition as tight as it is, that 2 points would have been pretty handy.
Yeah, the problem is we've got such a grey area now. What's control of the ball? Like there was a situation in one of the games. Well, there was one of the games last night where I actually don't think it left his fingers. Now he lost control, but it never left his fingers, and he regained control before it touched an opposition player. It was deemed a knock on. In my view, that's not a knock on. But because he lost control over the line, all of a sudden the try line has a different set of rules. the biggest problem is if you're going to review everything, I question what's the role of the referee.
Oh, yeah, but
but I'm being serious. Go back to one ref. Go back to one ref.
Yeah, well, that's a totally different argument altogether.
And just review it.
Oh, look.
The problem is, what's the difference between going for a try? And you know my beef about this. I'm a $2 lawnmower. I go till the petrol runs out. If you honestly think you've stuffed something up in the lead up to something, and you can negate that by not scoring a try but getting tackled a metre out, you get tackled.
Yeah,
and
if they miss an obstruction, you get tackled.
Yeah, and this is the thing. I just think
we're having a different argument now. I think.
But what I'm saying is, why is it in the act of going for a try, everything get reviewed?
Well,
if a knock on occurred the play before, plays the ball, goes out wide, scores a try, 4 points is still scored.
Yeah.
To pipe in, Justin, don't.
My beef with the ref is he'll call play on 6 to go, they'll score, and he'll go back. I think they should just go review the put down.
Yeah.
What do you want checked? Not I've called 6 again.
Well,
okay, this has happened afterwards.
Yeah.
Why did you call 6 again? You're obviously confident at that time it was play on. That's it. Move on to the next one. Just check the put down.
I think the other thing is we forget. We often talk about players getting paid a lot to do a job. Referees do too. They don't get paid in bushels of coal. Like
they're also human.
They're also human. I just think that the system we have now is on the money.
Yeah. And don't forget, we've had a system before where we had issues because the referee was saying, I want to go up, I want to check the knock on. And by the letter of the law and the way the rules were at that time, the only thing that the video ref could check was the knock on. And they're saying, there's an obstruction in the lead-up, but the ref only asked for a knock-on. We've got to give a try. And we were getting results. We were getting the wrong result because of the way we set the rules. We're seeing similar things in other sports. I've been watching a fair bit of, soccer and the Women's World Cup's on at the moment, and they've had issues too where...
Suck on that.
Where they've had situations where the linesmen are told, keep your flag down if you think it may be close to offside. The players are playing through... And then they're scoring goals, or there's been fouls at one end, then goes to the other, and then after the ball goes dead, and one team thinks they've got a goal kick, the flag goes up and says, "Bring it back for offside." I don't know if that model of let's play through and see if something happens and let the video sort it out is going to be the best one going forward.
It's one of the things that kills rugby.
But the touch judges have been doing it for ages now. Like you saw in the game last night, he had both feet over the sideline, and the touch judge still asked him to check the sideline.
Yeah, put the flag up.
He goes, he's out, but just double check it for me.
Put the flag up.
Yeah.
Have
confidence. It's all about confidence.
Yeah.
It's about building confidence in the referees. If the referees are confident in their decisions, then, the bunker is a tool to just double check. Look, this is what's happened. There's a bit of doubt, or I couldn't see the grounding of the ball, I was blocked by a player. That's the type of stuff. Look, to be honest with you, we cry out and say, make a decision on field, and then when they don't...
That's right. I applaud. Look, okay. Look, I didn't pick the Tigers, so... but the thing is...
Neither did I.
I think that in the context of where we're at, I also say this if I was a Cowboys fan, they go up for bloody everything. Why not go up for that?
That's what Cowboys fans are going to say. They're going to say, we have a system in place to avoid these situations, and the system wasn't used. Why have someone sitting in the bunker if they're not going to get asked?
I have a bigger problem with Golden Point. I love Golden Point. Don't get me wrong. Last night showed why it's just ridiculous. Have Golden try. They've got to start thinking about... we need a winner. Kicking field goals is not the way. Score a try, you win. If you kick a field goal, you've got the 10 minutes to play out. I really think that we shouldn't be catering the game to the lowest scoring opportunity. Last night there were 3 attempts at field goal, and it was just.
I'll be honest with you though, the lead up play to that last field goal, and the kick return from Thompson off the drop out, and then the subsequent runs is what I think won them the game, not the field goal. However, I don't like Golden Point. I don't think it's necessary.
You like a draw?
I've got no issues with the draw.
You like Golden Point?
Yeah, I don't mind. The field goal's part of the game and always has been. Like, if you don't want to use it in golden point, take it out of the game altogether. Then, like,
I just think
point to point,
Yeah.
point to point.
Yeah.
It's a point. 10th minute of the game.
Yeah, that's true. If it's a way of scoring, why can't you win with it in certain parts? I think that'll cause issues.
When it goes wrong, it's a 7 tackle set, which basically sets the other team up. So
I like what soccer did when they took away
at the time.
And I know they've only got 1 on 0. They've got on or off. You know, you've scored or you haven't scored. I just think that when you look at games, the first thing you're going to do is go for a field goal, right? Fair point. I just think that if you had an opportunity where you said, all right, a try kills the game,
a field goal, you still play.
you're still in front.
Yeah. The whole idea of the golden point. So the fact that there's an equity issue there in a sense.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like, you look at the NFL, if you score on your first drive, you get right of reply.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
play the time.
Play the time. Like, and look, you know,
And I mean, look, last night it would have been the similar result because they kicked it with not long to go in that first half of extra time, whether you played the other half. My issue with the golden point, I'll explain it to you. It's not from a sense of what we always have to understand, and I always remind you guys of this when I'm talking on here. We are in the entertainment industry. That is how the NRL is run. It is a form of entertainment. And their idea for, if they've got to sell it, and part of the money that comes back in from the broadcast and the rights deal, I think the rights to the game are worth more if they say, we have this potential for extra time, all this sort of thing, golden point. It makes it seem more exciting. My issue is looking at it from a different point of view. I look at the amount of injuries and the amount of games, especially around this middle part of the year when you've got your origin players. We have a lot of players injured at the moment. I'm looking at players and their loads. The teams will have to be monitoring their training loads massively to reduce the amount of work they're doing because they're playing so much football.
Yeah.
If you play a game that's 85 or 90 minutes long, that's going to have an impact. And people who don't understand will say, oh, but they're elite athletes, they should be able to play for another 10 minutes. That's not how it works. They are training within specific loads, and they will have to alter that to ensure that they don't burn their players out. It's the same way someone goes, oh, I had to work late tonight at work, I'm tired. That's the same result for them. Only, we're seeing these injuries. It's a concern because what you're going to do, if you wear out the players, they get injured, you're devaluing the league anyway because you don't have all your star players there.
Do you think we should change the point structure where if you win, you get 3 points? If there's a golden point game, each team gets a point, and then golden points playing for an extra point. So if you win in golden point, you can never get the full points.
You get a win in golden points worth 2, a loss in golden points worth 1, a win any other.
This is what cracks me up.
What's wrong with the draw?
No, but what I'm saying is, I don't think they'll go back because.
Sorry, what was your point structure again?
So if you win, you get 3 points in a normal game. You get, so in golden point, each team gets 2 points, and then because you can't win in 80 minutes, you play for an optional point. So that's what rugby league goes.
Points.
Yeah, so if you win the game, you get 2 points, not 3, because you can't win in 80 minutes.
What happens if it's still draw at the end of the 80 minutes? Does each team just get their point?
Just get 2 points. No one won.
2 points.
No, sorry, you get 1 point each. Sorry.
1 point. Just have a draw.
Yeah, I agree with that, but you have to, a win has to be 3 points then.
Yeah, that's right. Win has to be 3
golden point
points.
game can't.
This is what cracks me up. Is like
all games, then there's 3 points on offer.
We forget rugby league goes for 80 minutes, and what golden point does? Golden point is the overtime match. Now, overtime, I don't care what anyone says.
Different set of rules.
It is 100% correct.
Yeah.
So you're not playing with the set of rules you've been playing with the 80 minutes preceding them. You're playing with it, so you shouldn't be playing for a full set of points. Furthermore, at 80 minutes, I didn't lose.
Teams that
I didn't lose at 80 minutes.
You look at the stats.
Unless sports bet or Ladbrokes, then you lost at 80 minutes.
That's right.
Yeah, those guys will call
then
it.
you lost.
They call
but
it.
you look at some of the statistics. Teams that give away penalties generally do all right in golden point.
Might ask for a bonus bet because of that plug.
You look at the teams like the Panthers. They do all right in golden point because those penalties don't get blown.
No,
They'll give away 14 during a game, and then all of a sudden they're squeaky clean for 5 minutes. Isn't that a coincidence?
Yeah, but
because the refs don't want to end the game on a penalty.
No.
Anyway, there's another of the world's problems not really solved, but just made more complicated.
Like your thoughts on the Facebook page, feel free to throw them up.
Yeah, just let us know what you think, because I don't know if at the end of the day, we still have games that go to the end of golden point and they're a draw, and the competition doesn't implode. The world doesn't.
The problem is
the sky doesn't fall.
Right. And then what I like about
no one cares.
What I like about a draw, and what I've always liked about a draw is this: the next few games you play dictate whether that draw was as good as a win or whether it was as good as a loss.
Yeah. Yep.
That you own that result then.
And you love it when you got those teams on the edge of the 8 with that odd number, and they just, and they've got to get that extra win to get ahead, and for and against doesn't matter so much. It's
I just think golden point should be golden for.
And in every draw, there's always one team running off high-fiving and the other one.
And they didn't lose. At 80 minutes, they didn't lose.
The problem is you get those games where the team that dominated the whole way and at a draw would be walking off high-fiving, they sometimes concede the field goal at the end and walk away with nothing.
Or the flip side. They're like a thief in the night and steal the win. I think there was something like that. They were saying the Tigers last night had 16 golden points and they won 4.
Yeah. It's interesting. And that's not their first golden point this year.
No.
They went down to the Panthers earlier on in the year. So,
Until we're live.
Yes.
Until we're live.
And Shane owes everyone a beer.
That's right. That's a fine.
See you in court.
Very quickly, whilst we're talking about footy from the weekend, we might just touch on the other game from last night, which was up on the Gold Coast. The Warriors got the job done there 24-20. I was going to see what you boys think about the Warriors. We know that the Titans, they've been a bit up and down. The Warriors are that sort of team where you're never really sure with your tips. They're now they moved to 12 points. They're not inside the 8, but they're in that big group of teams that are just outside the 8. Do you see the Warriors being a bit of a nuisance factor for other teams? Can they push for a top 8 spot? How are we feeling about them at the moment?
The Warriors didn't win last night. The Gold Coast lost. That's as good, that's as succinct as I can put it. I felt in this game there were key moments that the Gold Coast Titans just could not mentally break through the barrier and take this game by the scruff of the neck. The key to that was the final play.
Brimson won that one back.
Yeah, it was just the Gold Coast fans must have just been in the stand shaking their head. The Gold Coast were on top for a lot of this game. I think for the Warriors, the Warriors really didn't get any penetration out of dummy half. Isaac Luke was really found wanting. Blake Green had a hell of a game in defence, played really well. Tuivasa-Sheck did well in attack. I just think that when you look at the Warriors have too many players who do really silly things in key times. That hit that Blair put on, if that had gone to Golden Point, they would have played 9 minutes of that extra time without a full set of players.
Yeah.
It was only a brain explosion by the Gold Coast that negated that. I honestly thought the Gold Coast had him shot out wide. Instead of kicking, he should have got a quick play the ball because he sucked in 3 of them. The Warriors
really Tuivasa-Sheck.
The Warriors just find ways to get 2 points.
And I think with players like Tuivasa-Sheck, we saw, because it was a 12-all for a very, very long time, especially in that first part of that second half. And then you get a try. RTS is that type of guy where if your team's playing against him, you're always worried that he's going to pull something out, he's going to score a try. They've got that strike around the park. Should also be noted in this one. Big news, especially with the implications for Origin. Jai Arrow injured in this one. He'll miss State of Origin.
he's one guy you feel for because he turns up week in, week out. Look, the Gold Coast really, at times, look like a team that have just met each other and we say this every week. There are a bunch of individuals who are defending. That Tuivasa-Sheck try came from nothing. There was a massive hole in the middle of the park. I think it was Blake Green ran at it, passed it to Tuivasa-Sheck and try. The problem with the Gold Coast is they're a team who has 3 tries a game in them. They can score 3. That's all they can do. The problem is they let 5 in.
Yeah.
And their coach, look, far out. You know, like
he's holding on. He was my first coach sacked at the start of the year, remember?
He's going to be in trouble. And you know what? I feel for him and I feel for whoever comes in because they don't have the ability to play as a team.
Is there a culture up there of that? Has that been the Titans? In the 12 years since they've been the Titans, has that been the culture? They sign these players, they get excited, these individuals, they can't find their place within the team, and it's a very transient place. There's already talks that Peachy's on the way out. He wants to come back down to Penrith. That's a massive rumour.
My problem with the Titans is this. They weren't built right from the start. You know, they are the wash of the Gold Coast Tweedheads Giants, of the Seagulls. They got booted out. Then they come back because of AFL. They come back as the Titans, a team that no one could assimilate with because no one in Australia knows what the hell a Titan is. They should have been the Dolphins. They had a great mascot there. They folded when Redcliffe flexed their muscle. So we let a Queensland Cup side flex its muscle to the NRL and it folds like a cheap suit.
Yeah.
They gave all the salary cap exemptions under the sun in third-party payments. I can tell you now, every player that went up there in their first year got an Audi. They got all the...
I reckon Jamal Idris went up there for a packet of chips and a $5.
No, they just got... They got everything handed to them, and their establishment is woeful. Now, I feel for Graham Annesley because he's walked into an absolute shambles and he's been told to fix it. Well, The only way you're going to fix it is with a detailed plan. That detailed plan is not going to work as long as they're called the Gold Coast Titans and they're working out of Robina.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now, that's the problem. The NRL can't see the forest for the trees there. And the only thing that's going to hinder them even more is if you listen to Beattie during the week, who wants to chuck another team in Brisbane. The second Brisbane team is going to kill the Titans. And until they get a more manageable place to work out of, until they get a mascot that people can assimilate, until they get something that works, they are an endangered species up there at the Gold Coast.
Maybe it's the town. I haven't been there, but maybe there's something distracting them. Maybe they just can't focus on footy. It might be outside influences.
Yeah. Why do I haven't been there. I find it hard to believe that you've never been to the Gold Coast.
Catch the bus from Broadbeach.
Is that
catching the bus from Broadbeach to Robina?
He's a big fan of the light rail.
If Peachy's looking to head back to Penrith, it must be too pleasant up there.
That's very true. That's
fair call.
We love you, our Penrith brethren.
Yeah.
I have been to Penrith and it is a lovely place.
Look, speaking of Penrith, they are taking on South tonight.
I love Mulgar Road. Yes,
one aspect of this game that we might talk about, just while we're talking about off-field stuff, and we've got the chance to today, we might talk very briefly about the Dane Gagai situation, because it was very interesting to hear that when James Roberts came back to South, all the press was saying that Dane Gagai wasn't happy. Not all the press.
Your mate. Not all the press.
Your mate.
The Daily Telegraph.
Fairfax.
And
it was
Daily Telegraph and Paul Kent. Yeah. That's who it was.
Now the story from that was that he didn't want to be moved to the wing. He didn't want to play wing with Roberts coming in.
Because he's rubbish on the wing, isn't he?
Yeah, ask the Queensland team. So, look, the idea was there that there was going to be this big rift and that Gagai was going to leave. Now, in the meantime, the reports have come out. South Sydney have said that Gagai's had a chat to the players. He's assured them that he'll stay. Bennett says he's not going anywhere. It was interesting to hear Bennett say, look, he's not going anywhere, but I'm not going to stand in the way of him if he wants to leave at the end of the year if there was an issue. Tonight, we're actually seeing Alex Johnston come back at fullback for South. Gagai is going to stay on the wing with Corey Allen dropping out of the team. Okay? So, even with Alex Johnston coming back, we've got Gagai still playing on the wing and keeping Kyle Turner in the centres. It seems to be that South are really going to go with that Roberts-Gagai combination. This is really that game plan that Bennett had for Inglis and Gagai at the start of the year. It's great to hear Gagai say he's staying at South for South Sydney fans. However, South Sydney were also the same team that said that Roberts isn't going to come to the club.
Yeah. Does Gagai play for South? I didn't even realise he played club football. I thought he just showed up
3 games a year.
Alan Langer style, just showed up Origin. And I'm sure most Newcastle fans would have felt the same way.
Look, he's true. I'll be honest with you, in all fairness with Gagai,
centre wing, I didn't realise he was out there.
He does do a fair bit of work for South Sydney. It's a bit of tongue in cheek because he can find the line for the Maroons, and you don't always see that enthusiasm at South.
The thing with Dane Gagai, right? So a guy who, if you've read any of my posts over the years about Paul Kent, yet again goes to the BS Otto bin of anecdotes and crap, pulls it out and goes, I know what I can do. I can say that he's unhappy, right? So he does that. Hooper pushes him, and all of a sudden he's got to then fall on his sword and say, well, I made an assumption.
Lucky for us, this podcast isn't popular enough for them to actually hear this.
Like, gee whiz. Like,
maybe they can take notes.
The guy does this all the time. This is why he's a great journalist, because he puts stuff out there. He puts out the bait and waits for people to bite. And geez, haven't they bit this time? You know why they bit? You know why they bit this time? Because he had a brilliant Origin game. The thing is with this, you've got Wayne Bennett, and look, I know, mate, if you can make a bloody feature film on what Kent has said about Bennett over the years. He got Wayne Bennett, who this week has to justify to the world that Dane Gagai's okay. The thing that made me so frustrated as a rugby league fan is Dane Gagai had to justify that yesterday. Now, come on, because one guy went to his BS anecdote bin yet again and pulled out a heap of crap. You know what? This is where we're at with things, when you've got people who are on TV almost 7 days a week and have to say something. They do a good job. I'm not on TV, I'm here. So I'm not going to have a go at the guy, but what I'm saying is this. You can't blame a guy.
Sound like you're having a go at
but you can't blame a guy for throwing bait out, and if everyone bites, well then that's your problem. Look, that's not his.
Do you think part of his job is, you see this negative press?
His problem was he did no homework.
Yeah. Do you think part of his job is, you see all this negative press he brings to the game, shouldn't his job really, where you look at who he works for and where he is, shouldn't his job be to promote the game and to bring people in rather than create...
Controversy sells paper. He's in the business of selling paper. Cash. Like with Buzz Off.
Well, I know Buzz listens, so lucky he's never said anything silly.
Buzz Off says...
He's really good with the podcast.
Buzz Off is always, let's throw something out there. You've got to have problems, because if you said everything was okay, you'd have nothing to write about. The key thing here is that Dane Gagai's come out. He said he doesn't have a problem. I'm telling you now, we live in a world where centre is a specialist job. Winger is a specialist job.
Yeah.
Unless he's wearing a maroon jersey.
Unless you're wearing a maroon jersey.
Then they're the same.
But for some reason they still win. The problem here is this, all right? Fast forward 10 weeks and Dane Gagai scores a try in every match, and he scored 10 out of 10 on the back of Roberts. I'm telling you now, Dane Gagai wouldn't have dropped the ball last week that Hiroti did.
Yeah.
There's a reason why he's put on the wing, because he's the best player in the team for the job. There's a reason why people get put into those positions. why did Greg Inglis play centre for Queensland? Because he was the best person for the job. And Billy Slater was the best person for fullback.
Yep.
I just don't see why this is much. This shouldn't have even been a story. If Dane Gagai left, okay, there's a story. I just find it ridiculous that players get to dictate what position they want to be in.
Do you know where I think a part of this has come from? And I don't know if anyone's really made the link. We were talking about this many weeks ago when Greg Inglis retired. Paul Kent had a real problem with South having salary cap money from the Greg Inglis retirement.
I forgot about that.
So I feel this might be still part of those sour grapes that they got Roberts in. So he's trying to stir up, well, Roberts is here, they're getting rid of Gagai. Look, I don't think it... We've given it too much airtime. I don't think it deserved that much airtime.
I think Wayne Bennett started it just to throw the focus off how ordinary they've been playing the last few weeks.
Yeah, well, that's true.
We're not talking
about that.
That's
not a bad call. That's not a bad call. It's not a bad call at all. All right, well, what we might do next... we might talk about the Origin teams, actually.
Yep.
Because we have... Tomorrow, they should be announcing the teams for next weekend's match. There are going to be some forced changes. And if you believe the reports in the media, some of the changes have already been leaked. One of those that is basically being reported by most media outlets as gospel is the fact that Cleary and Pearce are expected to be named in the halves.
Yeah.
What do we think?
Well,
can we play? Can we play with Cleary and Pearce? How do you think Cleary will go, given that Pearce is basically going to be the dominant half in that pairing and playing more of a supporting role? Are their styles contrasting enough? Because when you look at what they picked for the first game, they had an organiser and a ball runner. The player who was picked to be the ball runner in Cody Walker didn't get a lot of the ball, didn't get a lot of opportunity to show that. We've got two organisers, and I assume that they're going to play fairly strictly left side, right side, as opposed to your more traditional half and 5'8". How do we feel about Pearce coming back into the team?
Haven't we been here before?
I don't think it matters who you pick when you've got players like Jake Trbojevic only playing 41 minutes.
Yeah. Look, and that's the thing that hasn't been highlighted enough. What Fittler did in the rotation of his players was very ordinary. And it's funny, it came up when, I forget who it was now, was talking to Greg Alexander. And Greg Alexander actually got really defensive.
It was on one of the Fox shows, I think.
It was, yeah.
It was your mate Kent.
Oh, was it? I'm not giving that a rap. No,
he's done well there.
No, but you know what I mean? He asked the question, and Greg Alexander got on the defensive. And I think when Greg... And I think the problem was, is in hindsight, they know they got it wrong. Yeah. Say the Blues snatched a win, even after the intercept. Do we change the team? They're an intercept from winning that game.
Look, I'll be honest with you. I talked about this last podcast. It blows my mind, and I know Clemmer's not there at all in the second game, which is a concern. They played Clemmer for practically the first 50-something minutes, and he didn't play the back end. There was a correlation between New South Wales being ahead and Clemmer being on the field. Once he went off, things started to fall to bits. Now, I'm not going to say that it was that decision, but what I'm saying is, I find it very odd to have such a dominant forward, and you don't do your rotation structure to ensure he's there for the first 20 and the last 20, and especially.
And Queensland scored majority of their points when Cody Walker was off, but apparently it's his defence that's going to get him sacked.
Yeah, and that's another. Yeah, look. They're going to go with Cleary and Pearce by the looks of it, and the talk is that Whiten's going to hold his spot on the bench. So
yeah, that's ridiculous. I cannot fathom if you're going to have. I cannot fathom how Cody Walker can just be shunned aside,
exiled after one game. It just shows.
And yet Whiten gets his job back. After losing the game, he threw the intercept, and people go, "Oh, but if it found the outside man, yeah." And if far out,
if they'd gone to the bunker, the Cowboys would have won.
You know, the whole
big if.
The whole Bulldogs year's been built on ifs.
Yeah.
If we had a tackle option, we'd win games.
If we scored more points than the other team every now and then.
It's just a joke.
Look, I think with Whiten, he only played limited minutes, and I think the I think the saving grace there is sometimes where you don't play as many minutes, you don't have time to give people enough ammunition to drop you from the team. My main concern out of all of this,
they're going to drop a starter. Well, for a guy on the bench.
Yeah, and my main concern out of this is too, Origin games must be worth absolute gold in regards to your reputation and your ability to get picked, because 12 weeks of consistent, mind-blowing, excellent football from Cody Walker has been undone by one game. And if tonight he goes out, tonight he's playing against Cleary and Maloney, he'll come up against Cleary tonight. Walker's captain tonight for South. He has Adam Dewey with him. He's going to be the one who's going to be leading the team tonight. He's got something to prove.
The biggest problem I have at the moment with the New South Wales side, if Pearce gets picked, that's fine. Like, he's been man of the match so often, he deserves it.
I've got no problem with Pearce being in this team.
The thing with Cleary is he is the most ineffective halfback for the Blues. Statistically, and go out and have a look at him, he has been next to ordinary statistically. And yet people go, oh, but games aren't won on statistics. Okay, well then don't bring him up at all.
They're one with tries and try assists and line break assists, and which he has none to his name.
And he's got none to his name in a Blues jersey. Yeah. So the biggest problem I have is, why is it that this guy who is purely ineffective gets picked? Now, you're going to get Pearce. Pearce is the guy that's going to be running at the line. Pearce is the guy that's going to be organising. Pearce is the guy that's going to be doing all this work. What's the role of Cleary? Because you know what? Cleary, we forget this. The Blues had the Queensland under the pump. They had the Queensland team under the pump. Cleary gets the ball, kicks it dead. 20-metre restart, 7 tackle set.
Cleary's going to spend most of the night passing the ball.
But why? You don't want that.
Oh, look, I know that. Look, obviously, neither Fittler nor Greg Alexander play Supercoach because they'd be aware of what's going on with Nathan Cleary.
You know, is he a talented player? Yeah. I just look at him and go, you know what? The other night, he didn't do anything. Like, even his kicking game was ordinary. The problem the other night, and this is what cracks me up. If Adam Reynolds was fit, Adam Reynolds would be playing because they don't have a kicking game.
I don't know if they would pick him though. You keep saying that. I don't think they'd pick him.
And I tell you why.
I still don't think they would have picked Reynolds.
They don't have
Reynolds
a kicking
was
game.
fit. Reynolds. Cleary got picked over Reynolds.
They don't have a kicking game. I mean, for the next one, if Reynolds was fit.
Yeah, but at the time of the first one,
they don't have a kicking game. And whilst Pearce is very good and can draw a lot of defence, Pearce also, if he's got an Achilles heel, Pearce's Achilles heel is a kicking game.
Look, none of this matters if we don't go forward. The player that was going forward the most the other night was Clemmer. It's going to fall a lot on Jake Trbojevic to do a lot more work.
Cook was brilliant.
Cook was brilliant, yes, in his role getting him on the front foot, our dummy half. But in regards to big forwards getting us going forward, we were really good early on. David Clemmer was amazing. Jake Trbojevic, I think this game is going to have to play more minutes, and he's going to have to play less of a ball-playing role.
Would you start Cameron Murray? Or is he a 20-minute come on after 20?
In place of who? So you got Cordner, Trbojevic at lock. You've got Frizzell. I think the biggest thing is, look, I think the biggest selection...
Would you move Trbojevic in the second row and make Murray your starting lock?
And put one of the other blokes like Cordner or Frizzell to the bench. I don't know. Look, I like the fact. I like Cameron Murray. No, I like the time when Cameron Murray comes on the field. I think he's more effective when your forwards are tired. Yep. I think the biggest question and the bigger impact is going to be who takes Clemmer's place. A lot of people are calling for Matt Lodge. I know you're a fan of Lodge.
Defensively, I am.
Does he come in and take Clemmer's place?
I thought it was a done deal in the papers, and you had Regan Campbell-Gillard.
He'd have to have a whale of a game tonight.
This is what I don't get. There's teams.
He was struggling to make the Penrith team a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, but you know, when you get 4 in a row, all of a sudden you're the best team in the world.
Mate, I wouldn't be surprised if Roberts plays the third Origin if he has a couple of good games.
And just back on Mitchell Pearce, you get a lot of people saying he's been there, he didn't do the job, but in all fairness, he was against Cronk, Thurston, Smith. Like, don't make anyone look silly.
Exactly.
If you're going to wipe out all the players that did no good against them, I think he deserves another crack.
Yeah,
I think Walker deserves another crack.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you go into Perth with a lot. They've all got that experience. They're not debutants anymore.
Cleary is lucky.
Yeah, with the series on the line.
Cleary's lucky he can kick goals. I really only think he's there for his goal kicking ability.
Can't Isaac Luke still kick a goal?
Yeah, but how about the first one he shanked, and then he shanked it, just scrapped it in, then from the sideline. Far out. I tell you, no, that one that Roberts kicked.
Yeah,
it was almost like a golf shot. But anyway, we digress.
Look, you mentioned Regan Campbell-Gillard. The only other player I probably was talking about in contention for the first game that didn't really gather a lot of steam was Jordan McLean. Am I totally off the mark bringing him up again for this spot?
No, you're not. The biggest thing with Jordan McLean is...
I think he's got that hamstring injury, so I don't know if he'd be fit anyway, so that might be a non-event. I'm pretty sure he won't be able to be selected anyway. The other selection issue, I think, and talking about your back row and the rotation, something I think that could really shake that up is I'm going to make the call that I think Angus Crichton is one of those players that could sit out this one, and I think Wade Graham could come back into the Origin team. What do you think about that one?
I think with the amount of minutes that Fittler gave Crichton last game, he's obviously a fan of him.
Well,
because he wasn't in form going in. He was picked and he wasn't in form. He got a lot of game time.
He got a lot of game time with very little return. The guy bang for buck. Look, take Cook aside. Cook was brilliant.
Yes.
Bang for buck was Murray and Trbojevic.
Yeah.
Now, why are your back rowers, the guys who should be opportunistic around the ball, why are they becoming the guys that are doing the tackling and the running? Like, Angus Crichton should have said, right, I've got one of two roles here tonight. I'm going to be the tackling machine. I'm going to get 50 tackles, or I'm going to run for well over 100 metres.
Yeah.
Does Tommy Turbo walk in?
And he done that.
Yes. For Kotrick, I think so. Look, the other thing is, I'll give you a hypothetical here. I'll name you 3 current back rowers that are from New South Wales, and you can rank them. You tell me which one you definitely wouldn't pick if you were to rank them the lowest. And my lowest ranked out of these 3 would be Crichton. If I was to say Angus Crichton, Wade Graham, Ryan Madison.
Angus Crichton.
Yeah.
Madison was great last night.
Madison's another one I think that I thought he was unlucky not to get the nod ahead of Crichton in the first game.
You get to pick a player. You just get to pick a forward, regardless of position. Angus Crichton or Victor Radley.
Yeah, I think Radley's been in good form. The thing is, I feel like
Radley every day of the week.
Crichton has...
Because he can tackle.
Crichton in the past has played very well. He was in the team last year, and they figured, look, we'll give him another go. That was the logic behind the selection.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're picking on form and how they played in the Origin, it's not going to happen. But you'd say, well, why is Latrell Mitchell there? First of all, there's a lack of options, and plus he's Latrell Mitchell. It was an off night, but he really did not want to be there.
No. Well, we've had this discussion, I suppose.
Yeah. So, anyway, look. We'll talk a little bit. Actually, I want to get your ideas on the Queensland team, because if we do have any listeners from Queensland, they really don't like us talking about Origin, because we basically only talk about one team, I should say.
Don't know why, they always win.
Somehow they're always the underdog.
Arrow's out.
Yeah, that's massive.
They're going to have to look for another player to take his spot. Offa Hengawi, by the looks of it too, he had that really nasty cut to his lower leg during game 1. From what I've seen, he's actually ruled out of game 2 over in Perth. The players you're looking at that are sitting on the edge of the Queensland team, Glasby was the 18th man for the first game.
Glasby, I'd have
He'll have to come in. The other player, maybe Jared Wallace from the Titans.
Cohen Hess wouldn't let you down.
He's injured.
Is he?
Got injured last night. Ice on the knee.
This is what we're talking about. I'm talking about loads. Can we come back to that argument before?
People,
Golden point.
Do yourself a favour. Read an
Training
article
loads.
written today by Matthew Elliott. He writes about injuries, and he writes about two things with injuries: explosive movement and fatigue. And it's a really good article. It's written from the perspective. You can tell he was a coach. It's written from the perspective of a coach. Yeah. And injuries are just becoming a big thing in our game. And look, I thought that the I thought that they were a bit I thought they should have picked Lasby last time.
Yeah, he was unlucky.
I thought he was the unlucky one.
Yeah. He was, admittingly, he was technically their 18th man, so...
Yeah, I thought he should have played, but that's just me. So I think he's probably going to get the nod.
Yeah. All right. So, lastly, just to finish off here before we head off down to the game, I just want to get your ideas on the top 8. I know the top half of the 8, most of those teams that are currently there, like your Storms, your Souths, Raiders, Roosters, Knights, we're pretty confident that those 5 teams are going to be there come the pointy end of the season. Still some question marks over teams like the Seagulls and the Tigers. They're just sitting on the edge of the 8. If you were to pick one team that's just outside of the 8 that can make the finals, who would your team be? So if you had, say, the Eels, Broncos, Warriors, Dragons, Cowboys, and I'll go down as far as the Panthers, especially if they get a win tonight, they'll, they're worth a mention. Which out of those teams do you think can still make the 8? Eels, Broncos, Warriors, Dragons, Cowboys, Panthers. Any of them?
The Eels showed that they can win.
We know that Brisbane will go a long way to showing that.
Yeah, Brisbane are pretty good. Look, let's flip a coin. Penrith, no. Penrith against Colin is just too far. It's too far gone. Penrith against Colin is too far gone. They'd have to win one game by 40. That could be tonight. But I just think they can keep winning.
South had a lot of injuries tonight.
They do. They can keep winning. The biggest problem is every time they win, they're going to be at the bottom of that group. And that only works. That only works for a short while you're playing teams that are above you and you can leapfrog. There's going to come a point in time where the teams above them are going to win while they win. So they're just going to keep being at the bottom of that pile. I just think come the 8, come the final wash, look, if they win 10 in a row, that's a different story.
Any team wins 10 in a row, they're going to make the finals.
They just don't look like a team to me that can do that.
I'll give you their run. They got South tonight, and as we know, South have a few injuries with Tom Burgess, Sam Burgess, Adam Reynolds out. Next week, they take on the Warriors. We've then got the bye for Penrith.
Yep.
Following the bye, so they play the Titans at home. Then they play the Dragons at home. And then they play, the Raiders. So really their first super tough game again, you're looking at round 19. It's a big month for them, I reckon, because then they got the Bulldogs just after that as well. So
yeah,
I'm not writing the Panthers off. I think if I was to pick one team outside of the 8 at the moment that can make it, Parramatta's that team.
Parramatta for me. I just don't think Penrith have it. Broncos go into lulls of defensive illiteracy, where they just don't know what to do in defence.
Yep.
I think for me it's the Eels because they have shown throughout the year so far. In saying that, when you take a team like Penrith, if they're going to start their run now, it's a good time to start it because you're not going to win a premiership in June.
Yep.
I just think their against column is so far gone. If they were minus 50, I would be changing my tune. At minus 90 odd,
They're Penrith -95.
Yeah, that's massive.
Prior to the South game.
That's massive to come back
I
from.
mean, even if they lose tonight, they could be in the -100s.
They're winning games. Their problem is they're not winning games by 10. They're winning games by 2 and 4.
Yeah.
Last week they played exceptionally well. I think Maloney's actually the player that's turned it round for him.
Yep. He's been really good lately.
He's been really good. The forwards are laying a platform that they didn't do at the start of the year. Tonight, if you're Penrith against the depleted South Sydney side, you just work for field position. You kick on the fourth. You keep running down. You just keep going.
Turning them around. Yep. Well, we might leave it there then. We've still got a few games to come up this week, a few big games. Interesting news just coming out that Tedesco is likely to be rested tomorrow.
Yeah, fair call.
The Roosters, fair call. They'll probably...
the Roosters have... And you think the Roosters also have the luxury, they've had the bye.
Yeah.
So ladder pressure doesn't really exist for them at the moment.
They've also had... Having that bye going into Origin 1, that earlier week... we've heard teams talk about that didn't get that bye and that will get their first bye in a couple of weeks from now. It does help manage those training loads that I've been talking about and resting players at the right time.
You look at South Sydney, Sam Burgess is out this week. Effectively, he's going to miss 2 games in a 5-week injury.
Yeah.
So that's, teams at this point in the game have that luxury where they can rest players. We know Tedesco's going to be there for all Origins. He's always gives 110%. Resting him's, I think, a smart move.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you for listening today. Hopefully you enjoyed this one, and hopefully you're not listening to it too far after the weekend and some of our comments aren't too far out of date, but it was good to get one happening on the weekend and talk a bit of footy and current events. Thanks also to Justin for driving today.
Yeah. Good luck this weekend, punters.
Hope your team wins.
Yeah, have a good weekend and we'll catch you later.
Bye.
See ya.